Nour Nation, welcome back. I'm thankful that you tuned in, and for those of y'all that are new to my channel, I'm Nour Solomon, and today we're going to dig down deep in history. We're here to discover new knowledge, new ancient history, and have a better insight and understanding of everything going on around us. Have you ever wondered exactly why are we here? Where exactly did the earth come from? Is it the Big Bang Theory? Why do we have so much information about the stars and what goes on in this galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, but not a lot of information as far as what goes on outside of it? Well, I got answers today. I got a little bit of understanding, and I have a little bit of insight for you guys to have a better understanding of why frequencies and vibrations in your life are so important to you, and why we must be aware and make sure we raise our frequencies and raise our vibrations. Scientists explained, and they came to a conclusion that there are quite a few stars in our galaxy. They have used all the telescopes. They have tried to use computers to count all the stars. At minimum, they have concluded that there are over 100 billion stars in our current galaxy. We reside in the Milky Way galaxy. Of course, that has all the planets that you guys know about. It has Mars, Jupiter, Pluto, Neptune, the Sun, etc. But not only does it have 100 billion stars minimum in this galaxy, they've also discovered that there are over 100 billion galaxies outside of the Milky Way. What does this tell you? Mathematical equation. What is 100 billion times 100 billion? I don't feel like doing all that work, but I do know that that's a lot. And that means at minimum in the universe, there are over 100 billion times 100 billion stars and constellations in this multiverse. For one to believe that we are the only living beings that exist in this huge, vast multiverse is quite arrogant. And to be frank, it's very ignorant. I have news for you, Nour Nation. We are not the only ones. There are a multitude of different cultures, races, and different star systems and galaxies throughout the universe. And they have been here before us, they have been here, and they're currently here right now in the present, and they're also going to be here after we're long gone. Long ago, before you heard about what you call the Big Bang Theory, there were what the extraterrestrials call the prime creator. They decided to do what they actually call the human experiment. And what the human experiment was a planet was to be created that was able to store information, data, knowledge of all cultures and all races throughout the universe, and to be accessible by all races and all cultures through every star system and every constellation throughout every single galaxy, and store this information of all their secrets, all their ancient knowledge, everything that they have collected throughout the universe into one single planet. A universal library, if you will. A cosmic library. They called it Tiamat. Tiamat is what we now call Earth. Tiamat was around 2 to 3 times bigger than Earth, and it did get damaged, which caused it to actually become smaller and chipped off a lot of the land and a lot of the planet, but that's a whole nother story. They created Tiamat in order to store this informational data for all races and all cultures, because Tiamat, which is Earth, actually resides in a free will zone. We are currently in a free will zone when it comes to galactical standards. They were able to store this information, this data, this knowledge through what we call frequency bands. There is a frequency highway that surrounds and circumvents throughout Earth, currently at this moment, and since it was created through the beginning. These frequency bands are how other races and other cultures were able to access the information and also store it. They also created what they called humanoids. And these humanoids were put here and they were created by light beings. Light beings meaning teachers of love and givers of knowledge, data, and information. Giving light is passing and giving information and data and knowledge to others. Now, just like anything, there's also always a polar opposite. So we know that since they're light beings, they're also dark beings. Now, dark beings are not with a lack of knowledge, yet they look to keep others hidden from knowledge, information, and data, thus keeping others in the dark, and that is their main agenda. Well, Earth was created by the Prime Creator and assisted by light beings to create the humanoids. Therefore, we were created from light. We were here and stored here and created here in order to be keepers of light, keepers of the knowledge, the data, and the information that constantly flows through the earth that we live in. We were able to access different frequency bands. We were able to access all frequency bands in order to access information at all time and also pass it and give it freely as we wanted to. Being that Tiamat was one of the only planets of its kind throughout the entire universe, it became a hot commodity. And throughout time, there became a war, what they called the Great Galactical War, in order to take over Earth, especially since it was in a free will zone. It was practically here for the taking. There was a war between the Lyrans and what they call the Reptilians in order to take over this planet. Throughout time, the war was over and the Reptilians were actually successful in taking over this planet we now call Earth. Being that it was a free will zone, they were able to do with Earth as they pleased, since they were actually the owners of this current planet. They decided, being dark beings, that they wanted to keep the humanoids that were currently existing on the Earth in darkness. They wanted to hide and shield all information and knowledge from them as much as possible. The way they decided to do this is they called on their master geneticists. Now, all different races and cultures have master geneticists, way more advanced than our current geneticists of this land. You're talking about test tube babies and in vitro fertilization. That is literally ancient to these master geneticists. What they did was they created two types of beings. They created a hybrid between the reptilian, which was their own blood, mixed in with the humanoid. This was to create a dynamic in a humanoid that was able to not only tap into the reptilian frequency, but also able to tap into the humanoid frequency that they were creating. They also created a new humanoid as well. And what they did was, in order to block information from us, they actually shrunk our frequency bands. And how they did that is they actually gene spliced our DNA. Gene splicing our DNA, grafting our DNA, they were able to construct a new strand of DNA called the two-stranded double helix. This particular DNA only operates on a shortened, smaller frequency band. Our original DNA was able to actually operate on a broader band. It still exists in our cellular DNA today, although it is detached. However, which is another story, all things that are detached and broken inside of the body can also be fixed with the right tools, of course. But that's a whole nother video. So the reason that they did this two-stranded double helix is to, one, like I said, shorten the frequency band that we were able to access, and they shortened it into a frequency band that we can only perceive reality and life through our visible light. So the visible light spectrum, also our auditory senses, what we hear, all is based off a particular sound spectrum, because everything is based off sound. Everything we see, everything we hear, everything that exists in this world is vibrating off sound waves. So with our perception being shorted, imagine it being as if we are tuned in to a radio station, and let's say it's 95.1. Ever since the reptilians have taken over and actually created the new humanoids, they have kept that radio station on 95.1 for over 300,000 years. We have been listening to the same radio station, the same frequency band, for over 300,000 years, listening to the same exact tunes over and over and over and over again. The only problem is we don't know, and we didn't know, and we forgot there are other radio stations. There's so many different ways to perceive light and perceive life, and we've forgotten. Also, since they were able to help us forget exactly what we were here for and who we were, they also were able to feed off of the particular frequency that they set up and arranged in our current DNA structure. These type of beings feed and receive energy off our emotions. What is emotion? Energy in motion. They feed off emotional trauma. Therefore, that's why they cause a lot of traumatic events in the world today. Feeding off your energy, feeding off your frequency, leaving you in the dark about the information, thus taking control of your reality. That is how the system started. Also, knowing that Earth was a hot commodity and kept all ancient secrets of all different cultures and all races, they actually gained access to all this ancient information. Some call it the Akashic records. They were able to actually access this information to use it for their own benefit. And also knowing that Earth is actually one of the closest planets in this galaxy to way portals. What is a way portal? A way portal is a portal in space that beings are able to travel through to get to other parts of the universe faster than usual. It is a universal highway, if you will. And there are plenty of portals throughout the universe, and most cultures and other races know about many of the way portals, and that's how they travel through what we call past, present, future, different parts of the universe, different dimensions, etc. Basically giving the reptilians gold and giving them a ton of power and a ton of leverage when it comes to universal standard. Seeing this all occur, there were plenty of light beings that came together and realized that we needed help. We had been put in a poor position, and so they created what they call the Council of Five. 5 different cultures, 5 different races, all from the light family, which were our family, here to assist us, here to protect us from any more damage. And they vowed and committed themselves to assisting us. They couldn't actually do it for us because we are still in a free will zone. We still have free will to do what we want. But you can't do what you want or what you need to do for yourself if you don't have any information or knowledge of what you need to do. But that's a whole nother video. But they decided that they would commit themselves to assisting us and remembering who we are, where we came from, and what our purpose was here today. In order to do that, they have put many masters in place to assist in raising vibrations, giving out knowledge and information, raising our frequencies. One of the main light cultures out in the universe right now that is assisting us tremendously, not part of the Council of Five, but is assisting dramatically, would be the Pleiadians. And the Pleiadians come from the star constellation of Pleiades. They have been here for a long time, and they have been assisting for a long time. For you guys to better understand this and comprehend exactly how the frequency highway works in our world, on our planet. How is information and data and knowledge sent through the internet? It's sent through frequencies. When we use Wi-Fi, we know that information and data is being sent wirelessly through the airwaves to our computer, thus giving us the internet, thus giving us the videos, the music, the text, and everything else that we see, the pictures, everything else we see on the internet is going wirelessly through what? A frequency band. Two bands through Wi-Fi right now that most know about is going to be your 2.4 gigahertz frequency band, as well as your 5 gigahertz frequency band. Speaking of 5 gigahertz, we all know about cellular phones. How can I call from here all the way to somebody in Japan? How is my voice traveling through the air and they're receiving the exact sound that I'm making through their telephone or through their cellular phone? What's this thing that Verizon and T-Mobile and Sprint have as far as this 5G network? 5G network is a frequency band. It's not sending the sound through the air, it's sending the data and the information and decoding the sound that I'm making and sending it through the frequency band to wherever that gentleman is in Japan and giving him the sound that I created, all through information and data. Our world consists of nothing but frequency bands, a frequency highway that constantly sends and receives data and information. Being that we can only perceive specific frequencies through visible and visual light, we still know that, and we trust that these other frequencies do exist. And we know they exist because we hear everybody we talk to on the cell phones, unless you get a little static. And we know that when we're playing the games on a PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, we know that wirelessly it's sending the information it needs to in order for us to get online. So subconsciously, we have true belief that data and information can be sent through these waves and through these frequency bands. How do we know that these frequency bands exist? When you hear about ghosts, ghouls, goblins, what exactly is all that stuff? How is all that stuff actually possible? You see, you're able, or some people are able to see your ghost because they're able to get off of that 95.1 radio dial. And they get right in the middle. What happens when you go from between 95.1 and 95.5 and tune into that 95.3? You hear a little bit of the 95.5 and you hear a little bit of the 95.1. And then you got a little static in the middle. It's interfering waves, interfering frequencies. These ghosts that these people see are actually other beings on a different frequency in the same exact area that you reside in or that where you are. And so when they see them, why it looks like an apparition or a silhouette is because it's interference. It's interfering waves. As we speak, as I speak, it's a whole nother frequency. Millions of different frequencies where many beings exist in the exact same area that I'm in right now. This is how the world works. And since we are shut off from being able to perceive and interpret other frequencies, we are blind. We are blind to that knowledge. We are blind to that information. And this is how the reptilians kept us shielded. Now, I mentioned earlier that the reptilians not only made the new gene pool of humanoids, but they also created a hybrid of reptilian and your humanoid, a mixture. Who are these people? Do they still exist? Absolutely. And these are the same people that you see or hear about. You're talking about the most wealthy families in the entire world. You're talking about politicians who are here to rule the new world order, who are here to rule the free world. You're talking about those in ancient times of ancient Kemet, kings, queens, pharaohs. They always talked about keeping the bloodline pure. Keeping the bloodline pure. Not human tradition, not human ritual. That is extraterrestrial tradition. Keeping the bloodline, making sure that the DNA is able to expand and contract on different frequencies, because it still has that blood, that reptilian blood, that extraterrestrial blood inside of them. If you notice, in ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt, a lot of your pharaohs had the elongated heads. That's because they were half extraterrestrial, half alien, half human. Nowadays, they've shaped and grafted them a lot more human-like, because the bloodline obviously gets diluted over time. But what it allowed the reptilians to do is keep tabs on what's going on in Earth. Being that they created the money system where everything cost money, and without money, of course, you are very poor and you're not able to do many things that you would like to do on this earth. They made sure that they clung to the wealthy. They made sure that their bloodline stayed with money. They made sure that they became politicians so they could rule and set the standards and guide the world itself. This is no coincidence. It's always been this way, and it continues to be this way. Also, being able to feed off of our energy. Not only that, they have been able to seek possession at times of particular beings that are hybrids when need be. You have been in contact or have seen hybrids possessed with reptilian spirits throughout your life. They appear to be human, but if you were able to see and visualize those or perceive those particular beings through different dimensions, you will not only see the human form, but right behind them, right above them, right beside them, you will also see other forms. This is how they manipulate. This is how they work. This is how it's always been. What we need you to remember is that we are light beings. The message is we have been the keepers of light. We are the keepers of all knowledge, of all understanding, of all information. We need to learn to raise our vibrations and raise our frequencies so we can see more of what is around us, so we can perceive and interpret more of what is around us, because this reality we are in is a very short, small reality. The frequency band we are tuned into, the station we are tuned into, is 1 out of 100, maybe 1,000. We listen to the same tunes. We are keepers of light. We need to spread it. We need to spread the knowledge. We need to activate the rest of the light beings so they can remember who they are. And through studying, through your research, through your dedication, through spreading love, through spreading information, to giving and receiving. That's what we're here to do. When I come on YouTube and I spread this knowledge and spread this information, that is my service. I know that is my purpose, because when I blow your mind, I know I open your mind. And when I open your mind, you're able to receive. And when you receive it, you need to digest it and discern what's real, what's fake. Your higher self and the guides we have that are there to assist us will give you all you need. Nour Nation, I appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the follow. Make sure you share this, because this is the information we need to activate everyone in humanity and help them remember who they are and how powerful they are. Peace, love, wisdom, and divine harmony. Keep everything in divine order. Love y'all.